Hey, welcome back. Today, we're diving into a great story from the Bridge and Biscotti Club. It's a tale all about precision, partnership, and how sometimes a quiet little coded message can speak way, way louder than a direct statement.
So this was the question just kind of hanging in the air that day. It was the big challenge, right? It's not just about playing the cards in your hand. It's about having a conversation that really uncovers their true potential. And as you're about to see, one tiny difference in language can lead to a massive difference in the results.
So our story takes place in two separate rooms, Room A and Room B. You've got two different teams playing the exact same set of cards. We're going to start in Room A, where a conversation that seems totally normal on the surface, well, it leads to a huge missed opportunity.
Okay, meet Robert. He's sitting south and he looks down at an absolute monster of a hand. I mean, ace-queen of spades, ace-queen nine of hearts, ace-jack of diamonds. Wow. So after 3 passes, it's his time to open, and he confidently kicks things off with 1 heart. A nice, clean, classic opening. So let's look at the bidding. Robert's partner, Tom, comes in with a natural 2-heart bid. That basically just means, hey partner, I've got some hearts, and a little something. Robert, looking at his own giant hand, kind of has to assume Tom is on the weaker side. So he just jumps straight to 4 hearts to game. You know, he's playing it safe. And they play the hand perfectly. They take a whopping 12 tricks. But here's the catch. Their contract was only for 10 tricks. They bid a game, but they were holding a small slam the whole time. A huge score was just left sitting on the table. And this is the question Robert asks, and it really captures the whole problem, doesn't it? They had the cards, but their communication system, their language, it completely failed them. The auction just didn't give him a safe way to ask for more information. So what went wrong? Well, to answer that, we've got to unlock a little piece of Bridge's secret code. This brings us to a really cool convention called Drury, which is a specialized tool designed for exactly this kind of situation. Now, you're probably thinking, wait, what's wrong with just bidding 2 hearts? It shows you have hearts. And that's a totally logical question. The problem is that a simple 2-heart raise is, well, it's ambiguous. It doesn't tell you if your partner has a bare minimum hand or a really good supporting hand, and that forces the opener to just guess. And that is where Drury comes in. This right here is the classic nightmare scenario. It's late in the auction, maybe 3rd or 4th seat, and your partner opens 1 heart or 1 spade. You glance down at your cards, maybe 11 points, 3 card support. Perfect. Or is it? Is this a game-on situation, or is your partner just trying to muddy the waters with a light sub-minimum hand? One wrong move here, and you could either miss a totally makeable game, or even worse, get way too high and go down in flames. So here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to really dig into that 3rd seat problem. Then we'll introduce the standard solution, Drury. After that, we'll get into how you can customize it for your own partnership style, what on earth to do when your opponents get in the way, and we'll even explore some of the more advanced variations. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with a super simple list of do's and don'ts to make sure you're using this thing perfectly. So let's really paint the picture. You are what's called a passed hand. That just means you didn't have enough points to open the bidding yourself on the first go-around. The bidding comes all the way around the table, and suddenly your partner in 3rd or 4th seat opens a major. All of a sudden, that hand you passed on looks a whole lot better. You've got invitational strength, but you're caught in a total bind. And that's the heart of the problem, right? What do you do? A simple raise to 2 of their major suit is just so ambiguous. Does that mean you have a weak 6 points, or are you actually inviting them to game? And jumping to 3? wow, that feels super aggressive if they opened on a prayer. You're basically flying blind. And that's exactly where partnerships get into big trouble. There has to be a better way to figure out what's going on. And there is. It's called the Drury Convention. Now, I want you to think of it less like a bid and more like a secret question that you get to ask your partner across the table. It's like a secret code. With one simple, elegant bid, you're basically saying, hey, partner, I've got a real hand over here with good support. So, are you for real? Did you have a full opening bed, or were you just being a little pesky in late position? So here's the key. The two-club bid is completely 100% artificial. It has absolutely nothing to do with the club suit. It is a one-round force that sends a very, very specific message. It says, I am a passed hand, I have between 10 and 12 support points, and I have at least 3 card support for your major. It is an incredibly efficient way to pack a ton of information into a single bid. And that point range, 10 to 12 points, is really the sweet spot. It's so precise for a reason. This convention isn't for your weak 6-point raises, and it's definitely not for a hand that's so strong you're going to force the game no matter what. No, this is for that tricky, in-between, invitational hand that just needs a little bit more information before it can make the right call. Now, before you start using this powerful tool, you've got to make sure these 3 conditions are met. It's a simple checklist. Rule number 1, you must have already passed. Rule 2, your partner must open 1 heart or 1 spade in either 3rd or 4th seat. And finally, rule 3, you need at least 3 card support for their suit along with those 10-12 points. If you can check all 3 of those boxes, you are cleared for takeoff with a 2-club bid. Okay, so you've done your part. You've asked the secret question with your 2-club bid. Now, how does your partner answer? This is where the magic really happens. The convention creates this simple, low-level conversation that lets you figure out exactly how strong your partner is before you commit to a game contract. Let's unpack how that conversation actually unfolds. The flow is just beautiful in its simplicity. Partner opens. You ask the question with 2 clubs. They give you the answer with their next bid. And then, and only then, do you make your final, totally informed decision. No more guesswork. You'll know whether it's time to slam on the brakes at the 2 level or confidently hit the gas and cruise towards game. Now, here's the one thing you absolutely positively have to discuss with your partner beforehand. There are 2 main dialects of Drury. They're called standard and reverse. They both get you to the same place, but, and this is a big but, they flip the meanings of the opener's answers. Knowing which version you're playing isn't just a good idea, it's non-negotiable. And this table lays it all out pretty clearly. In standard Drury, if your partner rebids their major, so 2 hearts or 2 spades, they are showing you a full, legitimate opening hand. That's the green light. If they bid 2 diamonds instead, that shows a light minimum hand. Time to be careful. Now, in reverse Drury, it's the complete opposite. Rebidding the major shows the minimum, while bidding 2 diamonds shows the real deal. So if you only remember one thing from this whole section, make it this. What does rebidding the major mean? In standard, it's great news, game on. In reverse, it's a warning sign to slow down. The modern trend is definitely leaning towards reverse, but honestly, the most important thing is simply that you and your partner are on the same page. Pick one and stick to it. Okay, now that we've got the standard down, let's talk about customizing it. You know, like any good bridge convention, Drury is not a one-size-fits-all deal. You and your partner can, and you absolutely should, talk about adjusting the point range to fit your playing style and the situation at the table. A huge factor here is vulnerability. When you're vulnerable, going down in a game contract is really expensive, so you'll probably agree to be a bit more cautious, requiring a solid 10 to 12 points for your Drury bed. But when you're not vulnerable, hey, the risk is lower. You can afford to be more aggressive and maybe stretch to invite on a good 9-point hand. But it's not just about vulnerability, you know? Other things come into play. Does your partner have a super aggressive light opening style? You might need to lower your Drury range to match them. Are you playing match points where bidding every possible game is critical? Will you want to be more aggressive? But the single most important factor is that last one you see right there. You must be on the same page as your partner. Agreement is everything, period. Okay, so you have a plan, but bridge is a 4-person game, right? Your opponents rarely just sit there and let you do your thing. Interference over your partner's opening is incredibly common, and when it happens, you need a simple, unforgettable rule for how to handle it. This might be the single most important rule of the entire convention. You have to burn this into your brain. If an opponent makes any kind of bid, a double, a suit overcall, anything at all,
After your partner's opening, Drury is off. It's canceled, it's gone for this hand. And why are we so absolute about this? To avoid those catastrophic misunderstandings that just lead to terrible, terrible scores. So, with Drury turned off, what do? Simple. You just go back to your standard competitive methods. As this table shows, if they double, a direct raise to 2 of your partner's major now just means a limit raise. If they overcall with a suit, a cubit of their suit shows that same invitational hand. See, you're still describing your strength, but you're using safer, more universal methods when the auction gets crowded. So, once you're feeling really comfortable with the basics, you can actually add even more precision. There are several popular variations of Drury out there that let the responder paint an even clearer picture for the opener right from their very first bid. A really popular upgrade is called two-way Drury. And just like the name says, instead of 1 artificial bid, you now have 2. As you can see, a 2-club response now shows that same invitational hand, but with exactly 3 cards in your partner's major. But if you bid 2 diamonds, you show the same strength, but with 4 or more cards in support. This is a massive piece of information for the opener, immediately telling them about the quality of the trump fit. And that's crucial for those close game or even slam decisions. Another common one is reverse Drury, which, as you can see, totally flips the meaning of the opener's rebids. In this version, the simplest, cheapest rebid, just going back to 2 of the major, shows the minimum, sub-par opening. Any other bid shows the full, legitimate opening hand. The idea here is something called fast arrival, where the partnership that knows it has a weaker combined holding tries to get to a safe, low-level spot as quickly as possible. So the big question is Drury the right tool for your partnership's toolbox? It's really elegant and it's super effective, but it's not the only way to solve this problem. Some pairs prefer systems that are maybe a little more descriptive, or maybe you and your partner just don't open light and third seat all that often, which would make the convention less necessary. And yeah, there are plenty of other options out there. Two-way Drury adds another layer of precision by using 2 different bids to show if you have 3 or 4 card support. Other pairs just stick to what we'd call natural bids. They agree that a simple raise is weak and a jump raise is invitational. The key is just to have an agreement for this common scenario. So with all these options, it is pretty easy to get your wires crossed. So let's finish up with a quick guide to the most common pitfalls and, more importantly, how you can avoid them. Let's run through these classic blunders. First, the opener just plain forgets that 2 clubs is artificial and thinks their partner has a club suit. The fix is simple. Always alert the bid and stay focused. Next, for the responder. Remember, you're a passed hand. If you have 13 or more points, you should have opened the bidding yourself. Drury is never for a hand that strong. And as we've already hammered home, Drury is always off in competition. And finally, the most avoidable error of all. Make sure you and your partner have actually agreed on which version you're playing. So here is your final checklist to keep you on the straight and narrow. Use 10-12 support points as your starting point. Always turn Drury off in a competitive auction. The opener must always alert that 2-club bid. Discuss all these little details, especially any variations, with your partner. And the most important tip of all, write your agreement down on your convention card. That simple little act will save you a world of pain at the table. This quote really just sums it all up perfectly. Every single convention in Bridge is a trade-off. By playing Drury, you gain this incredibly precise, low-level way to figure out your partner's strength, but you do give up the natural meaning of a 2-club bed. By using other methods like fit-showing jumps, you get different kinds of information, but you lose that simple question-and-answer format that makes Drury so elegant. So there you have it. Drury is a seriously powerful convention that turns a common and often confusing bidding problem into a clear, controlled conversation. It takes all the guesswork out of that past hand raise and helps you and your partner get to the right contract way more often. All right, let's jump back to our story and visit room B. Over here, Uncle George is holding Robert's powerhouse hand, and his partner, Aunt Mildred, has the same cards as Tom. But their conversation, it's about to go very, very differently. Okay, look at this side by side. It's so clear. In room A, Tom's 2-heart bid was just a statement, but in room B, Mildred's 2-club bid was a question. That single change opened the door for a much more detailed, much more accurate conversation, and it allowed them to pinpoint the exact slam that room A missed completely. So, what was the final score in room A? Well, they made their game contract, and they scored a respectable 480 points. A perfectly fine result if you don't know what could have been. But in room B, by using Drury to have a better conversation, they got all the way to the slam contract and scored a massive 980 points. That's more than double the score just by changing one bid from a statement to a question. Incredible. Okay, so let's break this all down. When the two teams compared their results, the reason for that huge scoring difference became crystal clear. It wasn't about luck, and it wasn't about brilliant card play. It was all about communication. Uncle George just nails it with this line, doesn't he? Both teams had the exact same cards. The only difference was the language they used to describe those cards. The tools they chose for their conversation completely determined the outcome. And then Aunt Mildred gives the partner's perspective, which is just as important. Her precise bid took away all the ambiguity. She didn't just say, I have hearts. She said, I have a very specific type of support for you, and I am ready to go if you have a real hand. So here's the real takeaway. Robert's decision in room A to jump to game, that wasn't really a mistake. It was a totally logical conclusion based on incomplete information. The real problem happened one step earlier, with that ambiguous two-heart bid that forced him to guess in the first place. When you see it like this, the difference is just staggering, isn't it? That 500-point gap, that's the value of one single piece of precise information. It's the tangible reward you get for having a better, clearer conversation with your partner. I just love this little detail from the story. Aunt Mildred, she's a big crossword fan, and she boils the entire concept down into this clever little clue in her notebook. It's just a perfect, memorable way to sum it all up. And of course, the answer is Drury, a single word that, when you use it in the right context, can unlock a whole world of potential. And really, this brings us to the core lesson, which goes so much further than just the bridge table. In any partnership, being precise isn't about being nitpicky or difficult. It's about being a good partner. It's about giving the other person the clear information they need to make the best decision for both of you. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Whether it's at work or at home or with your friends, where could a small adjustment in how you communicate, a little secret code that replaces ambiguity with clarity, make all the difference? Thanks for joining me.
Subscribe our channel for more videos.